Very excited to introduce our presenter for this morning. Now, his name is Eddie Donley, and he came to our market center here in Northeast Ohio earlier this year, but is not new to Keller Williams. Eddie is originally from Northeast Ohio and then found himself in Asheville, North Carolina, where he built a real estate team inside of a Keller Williams market center there. Eddie is an incredible agent, an incredible father, an incredible businessman, still operates that team down in North Carolina today as he now lives and is building his empire here in Northeast Ohio. But Eddie recently was tapped and redshirted as a bold coach. And so we'll be traveling, I believe, to Austin, Texas just next week, right? Next Tuesday, Eddie? To audition as a bold coach and start the process of achieving one of the most impactful roles that Keller Williams has to offer. If you know bold, if you've experienced bold, you know just how polished, professional, and in culture those individuals are. And I can say from all my interactions with Eddie Donley that he is a shoo-in, in my opinion. So you came here to hear him, not me. So I will, without further ado, turn it over to you, Mr. Eddie Donley. You have the floor, and I will manage the slides for you, sir.
Well, thank you so much. And to answer your question, it actually got moved because of COVID. We are not going to Austin. It will be a Zoom audition. So.
Oh wow. This is good practice then. I'm glad we didn't do it in the office.
So 6 personal perspectives. You know, what you see on the screen is actually the question that Gary Keller asked in order to come up with this whole, foundational piece to what Keller Williams is about. What is it that differentiates those who achieve at the highest level from those who don't seem to accomplish as much? And by looking at that, he broke down all the levels, and it really comes to mindset, attitude, and approach to life. And that's where the 6 personal perspectives come from. It's the mindset that's in the basis. It's the foundation of everything else that it's built upon. And so you'll notice that when you go to the next slide, the 6 personal perspectives, they're step 1, step 2, step 3, and they're in that order for a reason. Commit to self-mastery. Now, what Gary Keller says is we overestimate what we can accomplish in 12 months, and we underestimate what we can accomplish in 5 years. So self-mastery is about looking at what you want to accomplish and putting, the difference between an amateur and a professional is practice. It's putting what you want to do into practice. And they say it's 10,000 hours to gain mastery over something. Now, let's be realistic. If you put 10,000 hours into something that you're not good at, will you be a master? Will you be a professional? Maybe not. Will you be much better at it? Yes. So that's what this really comes down to, is the amount of time that you put into something. Now, who here feels they've mastered anything in real estate? How long you've been in the business? Have you mastered lead generation? Have you mastered scripting? What is it that you're focusing on that you feel are going towards mastery or have achieved mastery at? And you can put it in the chat box. Anybody who feels free to answer. So by that, I see that most people haven't mastered much in real estate, and I'm included. 10,000 hours. If you break that down, I'd say I'm really good at scripting. And when you break down, lead generation, say 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's 13 years to mastery. If you just count the time you put in lead generation. If you do 4 hours, say you have script practice and other trainings and things like that, then you're looking at 10 years. So mastery takes time. And that's what the commitment is. It's being consistent over that time period. because what we're looking for is we're looking to get to the point where everything becomes easier or unnecessary. So the possession of great knowledge, skills, and habits that make you the master of you. So the first, yeah, you're right. That was you went backwards. There you go. All right. So the first step is knowing what your goals are. If you want to master something, you have to know what it is that you're looking to do. And whether that's at home in real estate, whether it's your physical nature, your spiritual self, there are different goals that we have in our lives, and we have to know what those goals are in order to reach them. You have to be able to set a plan for it. And so when looking at your goals, know your strengths, weaknesses, and know how you work those strengths and weaknesses to achieve your goal. Whether you need to leverage that out to someone else who is better at the things that you're weak in, excuse me, or really focus on the one thing that'll get you there. And that's a lot of what self-mastery comes down to. And that's why it's the first step is realizing your goal and setting a plan and a path to reach that goal. So if you go to the next slide, step two in that path is the 80-20 principle. So we've all heard, I mean, anybody who's been in Keller Williams for any period of time has heard of the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, that 20% of your efforts get you 80% of your results. So if we focus on the things that will get us the results, whether, in our business, a lot of people will put lead generation, is the number one thing that most people say is going to get them the results in real estate. So what we have to do is we have to create a habit around that. And we have to bunker ourselves and make sure, there's a saying, you work until you don't have to introduce yourself. So if you're doing lead generation at a high enough level, you're reaching out to people, you're talking to people, you're putting your name out there and you're getting in the community. And so when you do enough of that, you don't have to introduce yourself. When people see you or hear you or know your name, they've heard it before. And it's the same thing in that farming principle where you're the mailers you send out, you want them memorable enough that when people take them out of their mailbox and put them in the garbage, that they see your name, your face, and remember something about you. That way, when you call, I've heard that name before. I know of you. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the ability for the not to have to introduce yourself. So focusing, and I don't know who's read the one thing, show of hands. All right. So if you've read the one thing, you know that the question, the clarifying question is, what is the thing that I can do such that by doing makes everything else easier or unnecessary? And so when you, and you can go to the next slide. So when you write down your goal, you list as many things as you can do to achieve that goal. And this is how you break it down into your one thing. And I don't know if you know the difference between a success list and a to-do list. So a success list is a list of things that you should do versus things that you could do. So when you write down lists, a lot of times we write down all the things we need to get done that day. Well, the one thing states, if break that down into what's the thing that if I did this, it makes everything else easier or unnecessary. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. So when you're creating your list, you're breaking it down and you're clarifying every time. You're going from a list of 20 things to 5 things to one thing. And that's really where you want to really pull it in, and that's your focus. Those are your big rocks. Because if you move those big rocks first, then you get what you want. And you can leverage the rest of that stuff out as long as you're doing the big rocks. And I always looked at it as what are the dollar producing activities? I'm going to focus my time on the things that make me money when I'm in business. So if I have 8 hours in the day, I'm going to disproportionately portion my time to lead generation because everything else in our business is a byproduct of lead generation. So, whether it's, working deals or any of that other stuff, I can push that off to someone else and I can focus on the things that actually make money because going to an inspection, working transaction documents, none of that stuff actually makes me money. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but it doesn't. You know,
Yeah.
it's the lead generation. It's keeping that pipeline moving that's actually making me money. Because once a deal happens, it doesn't matter. Once I get someone under contract or a listing or a buyer, all the rest of that stuff is whether they buy, they don't buy, any of that stuff doesn't matter because now I have them in the pipeline and I have systems in place to keep them there and get them to their goal. And my goal is to keep getting more people in that pipeline. And that should be everyone in this call's goal. If you're in real estate, the goal is to keep money coming in over time.
Eddie, can I ask you a question? Because
Yes.
I think I've heard of the Pareto principle before. And I'm sure that there's a pretty good mix of people on the call that are familiar with it. But what was the unlock, right? Because when you hear it, you're like, yeah, I should only focus on the stuff that is most important. However, we still find ourselves, fretting over, which, small detail in the transaction our client's going to get upset over next. So how did you kind of rise above and start to actually bring that into full effect for you?
So when I look at um, making sure that clients are cared for, because I think that's what we're talking about is how do we
Sure.
get past feeling like we're not giving exceptional service? And what I'm saying isn't about not giving exceptional service because I pride myself on going above and beyond for my clients, making them feel like they're heard, they're listened to, and they're communicated with. Because the number one thing that most people complain about for real estate agents is communication.
Hmm.
So again, it comes down to systems. I have a system in place to communicate with my clients. I have a system in place to, make sure they're getting what they need at a certain time. When a client comes in, all of the dates are put into a calendar. With their inspection dates, their, closing dates, their walkthrough dates, all of it are put into a calendar and kept. And then they're also put into a calendar for communication. I make sure I maintain at least a voice to voice communication with my clients at least once a week and to update them. And I also have a system of emails that go out 1 week on the market, 2 weeks on the market, three, and it's a plug and play system. That way I
Hmm.
don't have to think about it because if you set yourself up for success in the beginning, it may take a little longer to make the systems and get everything running. But you'll find that in that second year, that third year, that fourth year, as you tweak, you don't have to rebuild the systems. You're only making slight tweaks. And that allows you to focus more of your time on the things that get you money by having the systems and models in place that you don't have to think about it. And honestly, I learned it from my wife, who's a professor. And it's brilliant that you don't, it makes you, it puts you on autopilot. And so you can focus your attention because you only have so much space in your mind
Hmm.
to, think about things and willpower through the day. They've done studies on how much willpower you have if you have to, make decisions about what you're wearing in the morning and all these things. The decisions throughout the day, build up to the point where you're exhausted at night. So take those away from yourself. Put things in place that allow you to, leverage that out to the system and not
Hmm.
have to think about it yourself. I don't have to write an email. It's already written. I just have to plug little bits of information in here and there and then send it. I don't have to do transactions. I luckily have a transaction coordinator. So and again, what is that worth to me? Because how much is my time worth if I have to spend it writing an offer or doing documents or coordinating with city for POS or any of that other stuff? I could be out doing a deal. So I could be
Right.
losing thousands of dollars by not paying someone hundreds of dollars. So that's the difference there. And
That's a
so
big
that
difference.
yeah. So, and if you take that over a period of a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, how much money have you lost by not paying someone else to do the things that you don't want to do? So,
Wow.
so that's the 80/20 principle for me, is making sure I can leverage out the 80% or, do it outside of my 20% time. And again, I'm going to focus on the bigger items that will get me the results that I want. You know, there's a saying that 25% of lead gen, 25% of your business comes from lead gen, and 75% of your business comes from follow up.
Hmm.
So that should also be in your 20%. Don't feel like lead gen is just, the introducing yourself for the first time, meeting someone, getting met, putting them in your database. It's also the follow up, because that's what's important, to make sure that you're getting deals. So next on the slide list are how you go about this. So I use a 411. I use a GPS, the 135 and the 411. And this is about setting your goals, because if you don't actually have these things in place or set up, then you're flying blind. You don't know where you're going. So when you set your weekly goal, it makes sense to put everything in place so you know what it is you have to accomplish that week. So next week is easier and the week after that is easier. But if you're not doing this, if you're not every week putting something in front of yourself saying these are my big rocks, then you're not moving them. You are moving them. You're moving them to next week and you're moving them to the week after. They're staying there. You're just pushing them forward as opposed to breaking them down and getting them out of the way. So setting goals is extremely important in making sure you're committing to the principle and getting to where you're going. Because again, the goals and then the actions that get you to those goals. So the 80/20 is the action. The commit to self-mastery is the goal. So part of this also has to be, how am I committing to my self-mastery? Where am I taking time for myself and bunkering it so that I become what I want, whether that's in real estate, your family, wherever it is. Make sure you have the time, and we can go to the next slide, to, you know, time block, to make sure that you're doing the things that you want to do. You know, time blocking, when I first started doing it, I thought, I, I'm I'm taking away all my time. I'm locking myself into these things. I'm not going to have any free time. And what I found was, by making sure I can focus on the items in front of me during those time blocks and really bunker myself, I did have free time. Because when you're scheduling, and Gary Keller talks about this, schedule your family, your spiritual, whatever time is most important to you first, and put everything else around that. Put your business around that, put your, everything else that's not as important. So you time block based on priority. What are the most important items for you? And then, time block around that. So the thing that I found was, if I time blocked for lead generation and I time blocked for, follow up with clients and things like that, when I'm with my kids, I'm not thinking about that anymore. I can turn that off, because we all have that, where that 3 a.m. wake up where we're thinking, oh, what did I forget? What did I not do? Oh man, I got to get this done, this done, this done. By having these time blocks and committing yourself to these portions of time, you're giving your brain the release to say, no, that's scheduled. No, I have that covered. And it takes that stress away. It takes those thoughts away of, not knowing where you're going, not knowing what you have to do. So time blocking, again, is where you'll find your freedom. And, if you ask most real estate agents, hey, why'd you get into real estate? They'll tell you freedom.
Yeah.
and and they'll rail against time blocking because it feels unfree. It feels like, I'm locking myself into something. But again, this is about you. So make sure you're time blocking your time and putting it around the things that you want in your life and how you want to build your life. Because that's what the freedom in real estate is being able to build your life the way you want it. So time block in accordance to that. We can go to the next slide. So, and this is I don't know, probably not many of you know this. I actually went to school for art. And so, the world doesn't know your purpose and priorities and isn't responsible for them. You are. I had an art
Wow.
professor tell me once, your girlfriend doesn't want you to be an artist. Your mom doesn't want you to be an artist. Your friends don't want you to be an artist. Nobody else wants you to be an artist. They want you to be their friend, their husband, their wife, their whatever, their father, their sister, their brother. Those are the things they want you to be. Nobody wants it except you. And you have to decide if you want it enough. Because again, they want the relationship. They need whatever it is you are to them. So it's up to you to make who you want to be. And that's what this slide is about. It's not, the world doesn't know your purpose. Only you do. And only you can go after that purpose. Of course, be those things to the people that need you to be there. I'm not saying get rid of all your other responsibilities. What I am saying is make sure that you're responsible to you. We one of the scripts that we talk about with getting sellers and stuff is, you don't owe anything to that other agent and you don't owe anything to me, but you do owe it to yourself to make sure that you're making the right decision for you and your family moving forward. And that applies here. You owe it to yourself. Now, if you're a successful agent and you've got deals coming and all these things, and you're leveraging and you've got a team or assistants that can handle all this stuff, will you be a better husband, wife, sister, brother, father, mother to those people if you have that? We can go to the next slide. So the next step is moving from entrepreneurial to purposeful. Everyone in this room has natural ability. We're all able to, go to a certain level. And our natural ability only takes us to what we consider a ceiling of achievement. Because, if I was a runner and I decided I wanted to go run in races, my natural ability would take me so far. Now, if I wanted to win those races and compete in marathons or sprints or whatever it is, I would need a coach. I would need someone to help me hone that skill and set the systems and models in place in order for me to break through that natural ceiling of achievement. Because, when you write your goals and you focus on your 20%, we've already talked about that. That's the focus. That's step one. And then step two is finding the strategic options. How can this be done? Are there different, better ways to do it? And that's when we stand on the shoulders of others. We bring other people. We look, we read books, we find models, and that's what step three is. We find models, trainers, teachers that can help us go forward. And then you start putting in those systems. Now, when you put in the systems, again, like I said earlier, it takes more time up front because if you're going to build it right, you have to make a foundation, and the foundation is the biggest piece. It's the base. Everything else stacked on top of it gets smaller and smaller. Think of a pyramid. You have to do less and less as you go up, but you have to start big. And it's think big, act small. So you time block, you practice your scripts, you create the checklist, and this makes it easier for you moving forward because, again, you don't have to think. So then comes accountability. And that's really where it all kind of ends, is you measure what you do, and you have someone that can keep you accountable to your goals. Because I know, myself included, everyone in this room has set a goal. Think New Year's resolutions, whatever it is, where we set that goal, and then we have one day where I don't really feel like it. Oh, I don't really want to do this, and then the goal disappears. And even though it's something we want, we're giving up what we want most for what we want now. So don't give up what you want most. Be accountable to your goals. If you don't do it, and Mike's a great example of this. I don't know if he's still on this call, but Mike and I practice scripts together, and if he erases, just like you said earlier, he was moving his lead generation. I guarantee you, Mike is still going to do lead generation. He didn't erase it. He's just going to replace it somewhere else. He's going to move it in his schedule to make sure that he does it, because he knows that by doing that, he stays successful, that he reaches his goal. And his goal is non-negotiable. So when you think about where you want to be, is your goal non-negotiable? Because if it's not, then it's not really your goal.
Wow.
Because they talk about this in Bold. If I gave you $100 to walk across a 12-inch beam that's 20 feet long that was sitting on the floor, how many in the room would do it? Right? And if I move that beam up 20 flights and put it on top of a building and put it from building to building and said, I'll give you $100 to walk across that beam, how many people would do it then? Right.
Yeah.
Now, let's let's put the other building on the other side is on fire. There's no escape down. And the person you love the most is on top of that other building screaming for your help. Do I have to give you $100 to cross that beam to go get them and rescue them? See, that's
No
the
way.
difference between non-negotiable, you know, uh, and being negotiable. Because I wouldn't have to give you anything to go across that beam. You would do it because you care about what's on the other side more than you care about yourself. And that's what the purposefulness is of moving from E to P, is care about your goal, be in a relationship with your goal. Because if you're not, then it's not really your goal, and you need to reassess what it is you really want. Don't set goals that you don't really want, because you won't actually do it. You won't do the actions. There's no reason for you to keep going. But if you really are in a relationship with that goal, you love that goal, you care about it, it makes all the difference to you in the world, then you're not going to, oh, I'm going to take this email. I'm going to go grab a bite to eat. I'm going to come up with every distraction I can to not do this thing, because you know what that thing means to you. And that's important. You can go to the next slide. I'm trying to be quick, so and get through all
You're
this.
you're
We
doing
have a
great,
time
man. I
limit.
don't think we're gonna lose anyone right at 10:30 anyway.
All right. So the next step is being learning based the foundation of your action plan. Um, I I take every class that I can. I've taken Bold several times. I've been in Ignite several times. I go to Win with Sellers, Win with Buyers, all the classes I can. I make myself a sponge. And by doing that, what you're doing is you're saying you're learning for doing sake, not for learning sake. I'm learning to implement those items that I learn. I'm learning to take my business and my life to new levels. So when you look at learning, make sure you're doing it for the doing sake. And I don't know how many people have questions about that, but it's a matter of going in and saying, how can I use what I'm learning to make myself better? And and KW, and that's what I love about this company is they have a ton of options. you know, I couldn't ask for a better place to learn. And just like we were talking about earlier, there's so many things coming up that we can go to, that we can learn from other people who are doing these things and implement them to make our businesses better. You can go to the next slide. So learning is basically, think of it like, you know driving a car. If you've never driven a car, you don't know what you don't know, and that's unconscious incompetence. You don't know the complex nature of all the things you have to do, what everything means. Then once you say you get your license and you have a car, now we're in conscious incompetence. We know how to drive a car, we know how to do the basics, but maybe we don't still know how to parallel park. And so, that's conscious incompetence. We know that we don't know how to do something because we know of the thing. And then once you learn how to parallel park, now you're in conscious competence where you can do it. You can back it up, you can get in there, but you're thinking about it. You're pulling up, you're looking and making sure, like, okay, am I lined up? Am I turning the wheel enough? And then you get into the habit. And that's really where it comes down to the practice and the mastery difference. Is the habit is now you pull up and just back in and park without even thinking about it. You're singing a song, you're humming, you're not even thinking about parking, you just do it. And that's where the mastery comes in, and that's where the practice comes in, because those are the levels of competency, and that's where we want to be. You know, an amateur practices till they get it right. A professional practices until they can't get it wrong. So that's the difference here. Who is it that you want to be? And that's why it's the personal perspectives, because my perspectives on who I want to be are different than yours, are different than everyone in this room's. So it's personal to you. So make sure that you're using this in order to get to where you want to go, because that's the important part of your life. It's about you. It's not about anyone's expectations of you. Just like we said earlier, it's not about who you thought you would be when you were 5, who you thought you would be. It's who do you want to be now, and how do you get to there? We can go to the next slide. So that leads us to our beliefs, and removing our limiting beliefs are the most important part of achieving goals, because we can all say, oh, well, I don't know, I can't sell $1 million houses. I've never even talked to those kind of people, or I can't do this, and we can all tell ourselves stories in our head. And I found out recently that, fairly recently, that I tell myself negative stories all the time, and I think we all do. And it's a but we don't have to listen to that, because just like Henry Ford said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So when we take away those beliefs and say, why can't I? What is it that's stopping me from doing this? Nothing. The only thing that's stopping you is you. So when you remove those beliefs, that's when you step past the thing that's been holding you back all this time. Because if you had the thing already, you'd already be where you want to be. So stop telling yourself no. Say yes. What is your limiting belief that if I call these people, they're going to be mad at me? If I, do this thing, I'm going to fail. I'm going to look bad. It's going to be, it's going to hurt me in a way that I don't want to be hurt. But by saying that, the Wayne Gretzky said, what was it? I missed, 100% of the shots I didn't take,
Yep.
or I'm paraphrasing. But that's the important part is take the shot because you never know. They did a study where they sent a group of kids out and they said, ask people for any item. Just go out and ask people for something. See if they'll give it to you. And it was a study based on whether or not someone you asked would give you the item. And they found that most people, when asked, were accommodating. And it was interesting because when they questioned the kids afterwards, they said, "Well, what did you get from this?" And they all said, "I thought they would say no." And they found that the majority of the people said yes and were willing to help. So, how many of us are saying, "I thought they would say no," and we just aren't asking?
Eddie, it's amazing how these perspectives build on each other, right? You start with self
Mhm.
mastery, and then to really deliver on that, you have to commit to the 80-20, which is then is the foundation of moving from E to P. And I think about from the perspective of myself, coaches and mentors are the people who have helped me remove limiting beliefs the most. Like, you just don't wake up one day and say, I'm good enough or I'm going to try it. Somebody is nudging you out of that nest, right? So whether it's a coach, a mentor, an accountability partner, that to move from E to P, right? You want to get that, you want to get into relationship with that person, and then it helps propel you through this step as well.
Absolutely. Gary Keller says he has 7 coaches. Now think about that. He's a billionaire and he's got 7 coaches. He finds value. Obviously, he knows enough. Obviously, he knew how to get to where he was. But what it was even in the beginning, when he was down to his last dollar, when he was first starting KW, he hired a coach to get him to that next level, to get him through that ceiling of achievement, because he realized that he had that natural ceiling. He had gone as far as he could on his own, and he needed someone to take him to the next level. I mean, you look at athletes, and everyone has a coach. Everyone has someone that anyone who's a professional in a way that they need to excel and be the best at something. They have someone helping them, guiding them, pointing out, being holding them accountable, making sure they're coming to their practices, making sure they're following through on their shots, watching them, and holding them to their numbers. So that's what a coach is. And just like you said, it's the important part of moving past that ceiling of achievement. We can go to the
Mhm.
next slide. So accountability. Like you said, everything builds on it. And that's why, again, Gary Keller's a smart guy, and he has people around him that help him with this. He does research on these things. He goes out and he studies high achievers. He brings them to his office. He interviews them. He studies them to find out what it is that makes people excel. And if you want to excel, he gives you the steps. They're right here. And again, success is simple, but it's not easy. It's not easy to implement these things. It's not easy to go out and do the items. It's not easy to time block and to stay committed and to, we all have different parts of our lives that pull us in different directions. But these are the steps. And even if you get pulled off course, you make a correction and you come back. That's the important part is having the ability to move back into it and say, hey, I missed that day at the gym, but I'm going to go back tomorrow
Mhm.
and the next day and the next day. And so it's okay to fail. Everyone does, but fail forward. Get back up and get back in line with what your goal is. Because if you, again, failing is what gives us those lessons. We don't actually learn very well from success. Think about any time you've won something. The person at the end of the race that won the race isn't thinking, man, was my stride right? Did I get off the blocks well? They're just excited because they won. But the
Mhm.
person who came in second, even though they came in second and maybe it was a split second, they're analyzing, they're remembering, they're thinking about what it is that can get them to first next time. So that's where this comes from. Fail and learn from those failures, grow from those failures, because that's really where your success is going to come from. So being accountable, and this is the last step. So we're almost there. Thank you for those who have stuck around. So, you know, there's victim mentality and then there's being accountable. And so when you say they don't seek reality, it's somebody who makes excuses. Oh well, the wind was in my face, or oh they didn't list with me because I drove up in a bad car, or whatever it is. And it's fighting the reality and not facing what it is that you did to create your outcome. So being accountable, you're seeking reality, you're asking questions, because a victim isn't going to ask the question, what could I have done better? How could I have improved? Why why was this this way? They're not going to ask the questions. But if you ask yourself those questions and you're accountable to yourself, then you move forward. And that's where that failure and seeking to learn from it really come into play. And you own it. You know, I I do this a lot, especially with, family life, is when I make a mistake, own it. Don't blame other people. Don't say, oh well, it's not my fault because of this, or you did that which made me do this. I talk to my kids about this all the time. you know you can't you can't control anything outside of yourself. All you can control is what's inside of here, your body, yourself. That's it. Everything else is out of your control. Because you can say, I can control my car, but what if something falls out of the sky and crushes your car? Were you in control? So again, it's owning it and saying, what is it that I can do? And then you find solutions, because again, these things are almost in order. You're asking the questions to seek the reality. You're acknowledging the reality once you find it, and then you own it. And then once you own it and accept responsibility, then you find your path and find a solution to be better or make it better. And then you get on with it. Because again, now, just like telling a lie, if I tell a lie, I always have to remember that lie. But if I tell the truth, I never have to think about it again. And that's what getting on with it really means, is once you find that solution, you move forward. And now the past becomes the past and you don't dwell on it. You're not stressing over it. You've acknowledged your responsibility in it. You've done the work. Now you move forward and get to where you want to be. And that's really what accountability is about, is making sure you get to where you want to be. And again, personal perspectives. This is about you. Is there another slide? All right.
Mhm.
So this is basically your session for asking questions and how you go through it. So what was your goal? And this is a good thing for people on their 411. So if you do a 411 and then at the end of the week, what was your goal? How did you do? How do you feel about that? Based on how you did, what is your goal and what do you need to do now? So these are questions you ask yourself from your 411. Are you achieving what you set out to achieve? And if not, why? What is it that's stopping you from really going after your goal? What do you need in your life? Is it more time? Is it better space? What is it that will get you to your goal? And that's how you stay accountable to it. You inspect what you expect. Make sure you look at what you're doing, and are those actions in line with what you say that you want. We can go to the next slide. So this is the career growth initiative, and essentially it's that wall of value. And also you can look at it as the wall of achievement. You know, we can get appointments, we can get listings. Now, are we converting those? Are we getting past that point? And that's really where learning and education comes in, because again, just in this business, I've found that the best education is in the doing. I've learned more by being an agent than I have in any class I've taken. Now, mindset wise, I've learned a lot in class, but as far as like the business of being a real estate agent, it's just about being out there and doing it and talking to others who are in it and have been there before. And that's how you succeed. So I'll open it up to any questions that anybody has. You can throw them in the chat, and or say them out loud. And yeah, that's the 6 personal perspectives in a nutshell. I went a little over. I was really trying to get it through in the right amount of time. So yeah.
No,
Any
it's
questions?
that's awesome. Just a couple from me. I'm over here taking all sorts of notes. Is there one sort of step or one of those personal perspectives that you find most challenging or most important to start to engage maybe a coach, a mentor, or an accountability partner with? Is there, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, the self mastery. I mean, you know, it starts from the beginning. I mean,
Yeah.
the limiting beliefs, that every step has drawbacks. Um, every step has things are that will hold you to your past behavior, because in stressful environments, we tend to revert back to what made us feel safe before, where we felt comfortable. We revert back to comfort, and we don't grow. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. And so, yeah, I've struggled with, I'd say step 1 through 6. So, you know, um, so that I've struggled through a lot of that. And it's again, it's acknowledging the failure, owning it, and then moving forward with the plan. So, you just get back on course. Just like I said, it's like any ship, because if you look at a ship at sea, no ship sails a straight line. They get pushed off course by the currents, the wind, things like that, but they're always tracking back to that right line. So even though they may go way over here because of a storm, they adjust their course and adjust their goals to get back to where they are, where they need to go. And that's what's important here. Now I see a question here. How long have you been in the business? I got my license in 2015. Absolutely, I've read a lot. Just last month I think I read 6 books. Um, so, and that's not a ton, but it's still good. And then did I have a coach immediately? I was actually really fortunate that I came into the business under on a team. I joined teams originally and learned from those teams. I joined up, and the gentleman I was under at that time was the lead luxury agent for the market center, and I got into luxury right away. And then my next team, and again, for people who join teams, I will say this: it's always be looking at a cost benefit analysis on your team. You are paying them; they are not paying you. So you are paying them in every deal that you do. So remember, if you are not getting what you expect from that team leader or that team, then either reassess your agreement with that team, or look to find a better solution for you. So I did that, and I moved to another team. And my second team was actually the Matt and Molly team. And I don't know if anyone knows in this area, but Molly D'Amatos was named Bold Coach of the Year. And she is a Bold coach. She is a MAPS coach. She does a lot of education training for the company, for KW. So she was amazing. And I had the benefit of learning under her. We had weekly one-on-ones. I was the lead listing agent for that team, and so I grew under her, and that's how I got into that. So yes, I did have coaching then, and I also, while I was with the Matt Molly team, I did also join MAPS coaching. I had a MAPS coach that I coached with every week on top of my coaching, and I'm in coaching now. I pay every month for a MAPS coach to help me through the Bold process. And no, I am not currently a coach. I've done coaching for other agents and things like that individually, but no, I'm not a certified MAPS or Bold coach. I'm in training to be that. So I hope that answered your question, Debbie. And did I fully answer your question?
Mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, it's if it's, as long as it's not more than one step you're struggling with at a time, you're probably doing pretty well. There's always going to be challenges, right?
And that's the thing. Take it one step at a time. You'll do all of these things at the same time. And as you progress, but again, each one has a goal. And so, and it's a progression on itself. The commitment to self-mastery, think of it as the overarching goal. And it's the think big, act small. So self-mastery is the overarching goal. Then you go to the 80-20 principle. These are the things that I can do on a day-to-day basis to get me to that overarching goal. So these are the ones that you break down every day. You're doing your 411. These are your weekly and your daily goals. And if you and again, time blocking. If I win the hour, then I can win the day. If I can win the day, I can win the week. If I can win the week, I can win the month. And if I can win the month, I can win the year. So if you break it down and say into the smallest pieces, like I don't have to think about the year. I don't have to think about the bigger goal. I can focus on the right now and focus on just winning this hour, really crushing this hour, this lead gen, this whatever, this listing appointment. If I just crush this and win this, then I've won the day. And so on and so forth. And that's really what it comes down to, is breaking it down into smaller parts, because that's your step 2. And then your step 3 is being purposeful about it. Now that you're doing it, write down how you did it. That way, if you bring another agent in, you can say, okay, here's how you do it. And then you don't have to think about it. Or even if it's not bringing another agent in, even if it's your second deal or your third deal, you wrote down how you did the first one. So now you can just go through this checklist and say, oh, okay. And then something pops up where say, okay, now I have I'm doing a deal in the Heights, and there's a POS. And so you're like, okay, now I have this separate thing where I figured out, okay, here's how to do a POS. But next time I do it, I'm going to have this that I can refer to, and I'm going to do it better because I'm being purposeful. I'm thinking about the future and preparing myself for it by setting up the systems that I need so that I don't have to think again. And I know that seems weird. Like, I don't want to think, but I don't. I don't want to use up brain power. I don't, I want it to be as simple and as easy as I can make it for myself, because I know if everything's hard, I'll quit. And I don't want to quit. I want to be successful, and I want to win. And I think everyone here does too.
I agree with that. I think that that's definitely what this group is here for, and I love the tying it all together and plugging next week's session where we're talking all about building systems for your transactions. I mean, that's a hell of a segue 7 days in advance.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Right. Looks like a lot of love in the chat box for you, my friend.
You.
Not
Yeah,
surprised.
thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I really appreciate you taking the time, preparing, sharing everything that you know and that you've learned in your career with us. And we will look forward to having you back. Best of luck on the virtual audition next week, and of course,
Thank you.
will. You can tell us all about it at the clam bake next Friday, right?
All right. All right.
All right, that'll be terrific,
thank you,
guys.
everyone.
Thanks.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for sticking around, team. Have a great day. Make it a great week, and we will see you back here next Tuesday. Thanks so much.